Hola, and welcome to Power and Perspective. I'm April. This is Aaron. And no, golly bolly, Power in Perspective. No, right? Power in Perspective. I know who we are. We're Power in Perspective. Power in Perspective. We reframe conversations with empathy and humor. Today, I would like to say is this is what Monday, Wednesday edition. I think that's what we've settled on. Yes. And we have Christy today to talk about Hatin on Administratin, the very clever tagline I came up with last week that we are extending into this week because we like to just celebrate my cleverness at every opportunity. Okay, so I'll start. So Christy is an administrator in education. So I'll start with my perspective, and that's a perspective we're sharing in case you didn't catch on to that. I'll start with my perspective. I have been in education for over 20 years, and I was
I got it.
Mute.
Yep, go ahead.
Was it just you?
Me, yeah.
Did you not hear me? Stephen?
No, it's just me.
Because I feel like that was
me.
So I've been in education over 20 years. I taught, I don't know, I think 15 years. I was an assistant principal for, like 3 years or something. And Jacob, you're late on the first. Administration for like 3 years, and now I'm back to teaching. So I have a view teaching, administration, teaching again. So I wanted to bring Christy on, though, because I know y'all don't just want my opinion, although I know you value it immensely, that I think it's valuable to have another opinion. And I also wanted Christy to come on because I follow a bunch of teachers and teacher groups, and I noticed a lot of shade thrown at administrators and like, why do we do this and why do we do that? And like, don't they know this and things like that. So that's why we're here. Aaron, do you have a perspective on this topic?
When you say administration, I think my head immediately goes to the higher levels of administration and wastes of money. So no, not anything really other than the semi-political idea of school administration.
Yes, yeah, I feel that. Okay, so let's find out. I know you guys are waiting with bated breath. Let's find out. Christy, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your journey in the education world?
Sure. So you can probably tell from the accent that I am not from anywhere on the Pacific Coast time. I'm down here in Georgia. I'm originally from Alabama. And so my journey into education started kind of haphazardly, to be just completely and totally honest. I had moved over here to Georgia to help some friends start a church, and needed a job in the middle of all of that. And someone suggested that I get into substitute teaching. And I was like, nobody's going to call me on the first day of school. I can sleep in. Well, I got a call. And there was a paraprofessional. I'm not sure if that's what it's called throughout the entire educational world. But so there's a paraprofessional position that came open. And 2 weeks later, she still had not returned. And apparently I had halfway impressed somebody, or at least shown up like fully clothed every day to work, which was like a bonus. And so the AP at the time, Paul Cramey, came and threw down some paperwork in front of me. He was like, here, sign this. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I signed it, and he's like, you're a parapro now. Well, okay, all right. So I'm parapro. And so that was in a severe and profound classroom. So students who have very limited mobility, have severe issues. The year after that, I kept going with it. The church that I was a part of, unfortunately, just never got off the ground. And so kept going into it. And the next thing I knew, I was getting my master's degree in special education. And 14 years later, I never taught anything that didn't deal with special education. And then had some administrators in my life, when you talk about empathy, that really just showed me what it's like to be a servant and what it's like to serve people beyond the scope of the classroom. And so I thought, I might could do that. And then there was just a few other little things that happened. I actually had a student that passed away it's just been a year ago. And I had the unfortunate blessing of leading his funeral for his family. And to be completely transparent, that messed me up in the worst, best possible way, I guess you can, because I'm so thankful that that family was able to trust me with that moment. But it was hard going back into the classroom. And so I just thought, you know what, if I've already started this process and somebody sees something in me, then I might as well take that leap. And that just kind of was my catalyst for 14 years in the classroom in a resource setting was a long time. And then when that happened, it just kind of led me into this next path.
And so is this your first year as an administrator?
It is. So I think I kind of had the perspective, and I'm finding it to be challenging because I still have that teacher hat on, having just stepped out of that, especially out of a year of concurrent and, in-person and digital learning, which, was hell. And so I'm just coming out of that and going into administration. So I'm kind of in that still wearing both of those hat kind of modes. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Is anything surprised you so far?
Yeah. And I guess this is kind of where the conversation, is going to lead. Just the amount of things that can pull you from the things that you want to do, like holy bejesus. I mean, you have your intentions and you have your things set, and then, hey, dude decides to get off the bus with marijuana today. We're in an EBD school. That makes a lot of sense for you to do that. Or the fire alarm gets pulled, or this kid elopes, or this kid, whatever, or this parent comes in. And it's just amazing how quick your day can get away from you. And then you sit down and you have nothing done on your to-do list that you wanted to do or needed to do for the people in the building who need the support.
Yeah, I totally feel that. A question did you have something, Aaron, before I read Susan's
No, I'm
question?
still trying to catch up. I feel very out of touch.
Okay. You're good. I got this. You're good. What's the worst thing a parent has accused your school administrators of?
Oh, gosh. I don't really, well, we have a couple of situations. So I work in a school for students who are emotionally behavior disorders. So the EBD setting, and it's for the students who just could not handle themselves in a regular school setting. So they're with us. Or the other side of our school is 18 to 22-year-old students with disabilities who we are trying to transition into the workforce. So we get a lot of parents who just have the wrong idea of what they think their students are doing in our school. We had a student the other day who chose to take off his clothing as he was running down the hallway. And obviously that was our fault. So, you know, we told the student apparently, well, wait, what are we going? I don't need to see that. I'm not telling your student to go do that. Like, come on now. So yeah, I think parents just have this, or not parent, let me back this up. Some parents, this parent in particular, has this idea that we cause the students to act the way they do sometimes. So that was probably the most unique situation so far. I had another parent the other day that when I wouldn't let her student with disabilities walk 4.5 miles home, because she was at the hair salon getting her hair done and dad was asleep and didn't want to come pick him up. She was really ticked off. And of course we were in the wrong and we were not making him independent. And I'm like, dude, we don't need him to be that independent. We don't need him walking major highways in Georgia.
4.5 miles. That's insanity.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I think that goes back to your earlier question of what surprises you. That's something else too. Just, it surprises me the things that we have to parent, because there are some parents who refuse to accept all the responsibilities that come with it. They're 99.9% of them are doing a bang up job. And then there's that 1% that it's something like this. And then you're going to get accused of, I don't know, doing the right thing. Okay.
Yeah. I think that a good administrator too, and this is just my opinion, a good administrator filters those calls to prevent a lot of it from getting down to the teachers.
Right.
So I remember I would have a lot of calls. Most of my administration career was at a virtual school. Mm-hmm. And there were parents that I were basically told they are not allowed to communicate with teachers. Every communication has to go through me.
Yeah.
So I realized after I became an administrator, I can look back and see which administrators I had were like that, right? The ones that filtered, and I probably never heard of a complaint, even though the complaints came in, right? Mm-hmm. You think just, oh, parents just don't complain about me, but they probably did. And right. Administrators filtered them. And then the ones who I heard like every single little thing, and we had to have a meeting about it. And no, I did not call that kid names. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. No, I did not cause them to have dress up day on picture day. That was not my planning. I don't know what to tell you. I do not plan the whole schedule for the school as a teacher. I apologize. Like, it's not been vendetta against your child to look funny on picture day. Like, it's just the amount of insanity that parents bring to the table. Like, you think you get it. You think you understand it as a teacher, and the admin doesn't understand, right?
Right.
You think that because you deal with so much, but you have no clue what admin is dealing with. I had a parent in pickup line, literally on video camera. It was because I was in control of security too. On video camera, almost this far from running me over with his car. Sorry, this far from running me over with his car. Then I yelled, like, he cut in front of everybody in the pickup line. And so I yelled, you can't do that, or something to that effect. He gets out of his car, and I was like, oh, no. He gets back in his car, drives around, and comes into the office, like, trying to, like, I don't know, get me fired. He's like, I want to talk to the boss. I was looking around. I'm like, yep, that would be me. Yeah, that would be me right now. Like, no one else around. Yeah, it's crazy. Parents just cray.
So I'm asking for the sake of the audience, because obviously I know, but outside of dealing with stuff like that and maybe dealing with disciplinary stuff with kids, like what support do administrators provide to teachers that a lot of people don't see? Like what are your normal role, your normal position ask of you to do?
So I think what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to take things off of teachers' plates that I can do so that they can do the work that only they can do. And I don't say that. And I think my teachers know me well enough by now to know that I'm not just blowing smoke up their rear end when I say that. Like, I'm really trying to take some of the things off of their plate. So, like right now with testing, like there's other schools that I know of that my teachers would be the ones to check the accommodations, or the teachers would be the ones to set the schedules, or the teachers would be the ones to do those things. I'm trying to take all of that off of their plate and figure out ways that I can delegate that, or I can do that behind the scenes, so that when we get into the testing environment, literally the only thing you have to do is show up, because testing is so serious. It's so, I mean, there's so many laws around it. It's the thing that can get you on Fox 5 News is what I tell them all the time. And so I feel like there's a lot of work that administrators do behind the scenes like that maybe teachers don't see, but it's the things that we're doing that try to, like, yeah, we could ask you to do those things, but why would I ask you to do those things when I know that's going to take up your time? And especially now, having just come out of the classroom, like I had to have a moment a couple of weeks ago where I had to grieve that. Like, I had to grieve that I'm never going to be in a class, and I may, but right now I'm not in a classroom having those engaging relationships with those students anymore. And because I'm not, there are people who are, and there are people that teacher is the only person that's going to be able to have that moment with that kid and change that kid's life. And so I've got to do what I can to take the little task off of their plates. And sometimes they see it and they appreciate it. Sometimes they are never going to know that we didn't ask them to do all of those things that we could have asked them to do, but instead we took it on for ourselves, or delegated it to somebody else who could do it.
Do you feel like you are more like sympathetic, empathetic because you have just come out of the classroom?
100%. Yeah. And you can tell, I can tell the difference right now too, with the administrators that I'm working with on my team that have been out of the classroom for a little bit. And so I'm having to catch myself, in both situations. I feel like I'm doing a good job of saying, hold on for just a second. You haven't been in the classroom. Let's remember. But at the same time, I'm being challenged with, listen, there are things that, like, just because I haven't been in the classroom, here's the view that I have of things, and this is why we need to do what we need to do. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like teachers trust me more right now than some of the other folks on staff, simply because of that reality that I just stepped out of the classroom.
I've heard teachers say that they think that administration, like once a year, or like it worked in some point that they should have to go back to teaching or have to teach a class. What are your thoughts on that?
We had actually one of the heated moments that we're having right now at our school board. So the school district that I work in is large and in charge. We have 180,000 students. I think we're the 13th largest school district in the nation. Like, our largest high school is, and actually that's the high school that I came from, has 3,800 students, somewhere around in there. So one of the issues that we have, and I think you kind of, Aaron kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, is that there is this idea that there's too much administration in our county because we are so big. And so there's a lot of people who have jobs that could be teaching and doing this at the same time. I do think it's important for administrators to be in the classrooms a lot more than they are. That was one of my biggest gripes and complaints, I guess you could say, when I was a teacher. Do I think that they have to do it? Not necessarily. I think if you're a good administrator, that you're in the classrooms enough that you spend enough time that you're appreciating what teachers have to do, and you keep that perspective. Would I love to jump in there right now and teach a class? You better believe it. Like, it was so funny because the other day when I led my new teacher meeting, one of the people came up afterwards and they're like, you went into teacher mode. And I was like, I know, and I loved it. That was great. Because I'm back in that thing that I just feel like is my element. And I'm so far out of my element right now that it's just, you know, what you used to be good at, now I'm the new person and I'm having to ask questions, and it's not coming as quick as I want it to sometimes. But no, I think if administrators are truly teachers at heart, that's not necessarily something that they have to do. If you're in the classrooms like you should be and on a regular basis, then you shouldn't be losing touch. But I think it's a wonderful idea if they get the chance to do it.
Yeah, I just like you said, like when I was a teacher, I was like, what, they need to be around more. But then I became an administrator, and I'm like, I'm in charge of observations, like, and evaluations for half the school. And that's like, it was like 13 teachers, I think, at the time. And which doesn't sound like a lot, right? It's like on the outside, you're like, you just have to observe 13 teachers. What, like some of them 3 times a year, some of them 6 times a year. This is not a big deal, but like, plus all the other things, that parent that wants to keep you on the phone for an hour. And yeah. And I think my biggest thing with administration was the reason why I left administration is because it was not, and this is not, I think this was just, it could be just at the school I was at. It was a charter school. It was a virtual school. It was run by a for-profit company. Just want to say that. But it didn't feel like it was about the kids, right? It didn't feel like we were doing things to look good. And as long as it looked good, then we were okay. Now, the end result might actually be good, but it might not be. It might just be like looking good. And I did feel like there was a real disconnect from being a teacher. And now that I've gone back into the classroom, holy camole, dude, I'm exhausted. There's no tired like teacher tired. Even administrator tired is not the same as teacher tired.
100%.
Well, and to support your point, coming from the corporate kind of top heavy, over administrated thing, it's not an uncommon thought. Where as you see people leave the job that you're doing to go into administration positions, it's always they don't do it anymore, they don't understand. And then you have people even higher up passing down mandates that seem like they don't actually understand what the result is supposed to be. Like they're so separated from the product or whatever that the things that they're asking for don't even make sense. Not that they can't be accomplished, because obviously they can and they must be, but they don't understand what the impact is at all.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think for me, that is something that I mean, again, being transparent, I am 100% afraid of that moment. And I'm hoping that I keep enough people who ground me and enough accountability around me that and I can already tell. I mean, there's been times I've had to catch myself and go, "Oh, you drank some of the Kool-Aid right there on that one," you know? And the way that I got my position, we are an in-house talent pool is what they're going to call it, which sounds really weird to me. But I have so many things I could say, but they're inappropriate. But I feel like, you know, because we're brought from in-house, then they really do try to, I mean, for a lack of better terms, it's called the Gwinnett way for a reason. And I don't ever want to be a part of that product to where, you know, I forget that, for instance, we have a test here in our county that I am adamantly opposed to. Adamantly opposed. We are the only county in the state of Georgia where you have to take this test to graduate. And working with students with disabilities for 14 years, and I say this with all sincerity, apart from doing my student's funeral, the worst thing I've done as an educator is look at a student whose disability is reading and writing and tell them that they cannot graduate our county because of a test that is of reading and writing, that we didn't scaffold and we didn't, we didn't do a lot of accommodations and modifications for these students. So the day I catch myself, you know, saying that that's okay, the day I don't advocate for my students, the day that I don't challenge the system a little bit. Now, I'm not going to, I mean, I feel like you can challenge it so much that you keep yourself in the position that you're in so that you can make more impact. Like, I don't need to get fired. My children need to eat. But at the same time, the day that I quit questioning that, and the day that I quit advocating for those students and become a part of that product, that is the day that I will know that I'm no longer supposed to be in administration. And I'll probably need to go to another county to find a job. But, that's the day that I will hopefully be grounded enough that I don't get to that point.
Yeah, I feel that like in my soul, because that's why there was a lot of beef with me and a lot of administrators, because I questioned things. And I basically was expected to sit in meetings and not say anything, right? And my first position, my first AP position, I couldn't. I was like, this is so wrong. I can't stay here. And I had to leave. I was there for 3 months. I was like, I can't not speak anymore, and you're not going to let me speak, so I have to leave. And then I go to a position where I would speak up. I'm not afraid to speak what I feel is a truth or question. Just, I want to know more information. I don't care if I'm lowest man on administrative totem pole. I don't care if I just got here. I need more information about this. And I was told that okay, you need to stop saying so much. And then when I didn't say anything, higher down, up, right? They came down and talked to my boss and was like, why isn't she saying anything? She needs to say more. And then we would be at a meeting, and then I got in trouble afterwards for the way my face looked. Like, you may not have said anything, but your face. I was like,
yeah,
I can't control everything, people. Yeah, the face. Hashtag Aaron's face. Yeah. And
it's a great thing about wearing a mask now.
Right? Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. I'm like,
oh God, back then.
When they say life is going to be back to normal, and then people are going to see my whole face, and I don't know, I'll have a job.
Right?
You're really going to know what I think about you.
Right? Yes. And another thing I know, so I'm back in the classroom. It's not something I recommend, in case you wanted to know. I'm tired all the time, but I also, so our 40 after, our morning duty starts at 40 after, and they come on the intercom and they're like, okay, teachers, head down to duty at 35 after. Once you're an administrator and you start forgetting even what 2 minutes means to a teacher.
Right.
2 minutes means I can go to the bathroom, fill up my cup with water. Like, I can do a lot in 2 minutes. And so when you're making a schedule or thinking about those things, like, 2 minutes is a big deal.
Yeah.
And they forget. You just forget. The further and further you are away from teaching, you just forget.
Well, and I think it goes to, and this is something that I, as a teacher, you kind of rail against with administration, and then as an administration, you get on this side of it and you go, I don't have to tell you 5 minutes early to go down there. And I probably have to tell 75% of the teachers to go down there, because you're going to show up when you're supposed to. But, and I've told my teachers already this before because of testing, it's that whole idea that there's something on a hair dryer that tells you not to put it in a bathtub. Because there's been an idiot that's been in a bathtub with a hair dryer. Like, Jesus, like, you really had to be told that, And I think it says that, but that's done for teachers. Like, there are rules that 3/4 of the teachers are going to scoff at. But what they don't realize is that those things are there, or people start coming over the intercom 5 minutes early because of the 1/4 of the people who are, and I won't even say 4th, like maybe 5% of the people who are just flat out not going to do their job. They don't realize that, that they are screwing it up for the rest of the bunch, because there are people, and I get, like, it's been a long time since I've been in any job setting that hasn't been education. So I don't know what it's like at Amazon or FedEx, or like my husband at the fire department or whatever. But I do know that there is that small percentage of people in teaching who get into that position, and they are that stereotypical, they're just there to earn the paycheck, or they're just there because they've got the football game on Friday night. God, don't get me started on that. Or, they're just there for whatever reason. And so, I think as administrators, we forget to not punish the people who are doing the right job by putting these things into place for those few people who are going to be the pot stirrers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually it leads me to kind of a question that I hadn't really thought about before, but both of you probably have much more insight on this. Is teaching, like, do the people that typically get involved in teaching, do they seem like the normal employee type of people? I know a lot of people get into teaching because they have a passion for it. And it doesn't seem like the kind of job somebody would get into just for a paycheck, generally speaking. Like, they may develop into that kind of person. Okay, obviously I'm wrong there. It just seems odd. Is from experiences outside of education, is the employee relationship different? The employee admin relationship different than like you've seen in other jobs?
I mean, I would say yes. And I think, so to go back to that first part of the question, I think that it's that, how do I say this? There is that group of people that they got into teaching for the art of teaching. Like, they are there. And I'm going to speak from a high school perspective because that's what I know more than anything. I think elementary people are just crazy. Like, I love y'all. And I have a 9-year-old, a 4-year-old, and God bless your souls. But you're weird. And I don't know why you do what you do, because I would not want to teach little people all day. But no, and I love them. But for high school folks, especially, I think for us, like, there are those people that got into teaching because of the art of teaching. Like, they want to, like, these words that I'm going to say are going to fire them up, the pedagogy, the like, that kind of stuff. Like, they are just there for that. I think in high school, especially, there's a group of people who love their subject, but they are not the greatest of teachers. But dag nabbit, they are so freaking excited about chemistry that if that's, if they can teach chemistry and get the summers off, if they can teach chemistry and not have to do all this other stuff, if they can come in and teach, physics or whatever it is, especially science and math people, they tend to be the ones that they just love their content. And they have found an outlet to be able to use that content, then that's great. There is another subgroup of teachers who unfortunately move that stereotype along, that they are only there for the benefits that come with, with teaching. And whether that be summers or whether that be, for us, we get done every day yeah, right, every day at 2:40. But just some of those teacher perks, I do think you have some people that are never going to treat it like the art or like the content that it really can be. And that, what was the second part? I had something in my head, but I can't remember now.
The relationship.
Oh, and I've seen both sides of this part of it too. Teaching is one of those things, and education is one of those things that I don't remember any other work feeling like a family, good, bad, or ugly. And so I have been cautioned about using that word, because sometimes I think as education, we get into these and you may have a total different opinion of this, but I think for us, that relationship almost can sometimes borderline be not inappropriate in like a scandalous way, but it's almost there in the fact that we get too close and too vulnerable and too transparent, to where then it's hard to separate those relationships between, now I have to come in and evaluate.
Yeah, it's counterproductive.
Or now I have to tell you that you're not doing a great job, or I have to come in and stuff, because we do see, like, I mean, preaching a kid's funeral, like my admin prayed with me before I went to go and do that. Because I have an admin that he and I had that kind of relationship where we could do that. I had another admin to where when I tore my ACL, she showed up at the house with pizza. We have had 2 really hard years of just deaths in our family and some different things that happened. And those admins stepped up in a way that a best friend would. And so I never experienced that. And I'm not saying that that's not there at all. Like, it literally has been 15 years since I've worked any other kind of place. But I do think education, because of the things we see, because of the things we do, because of the weight that is on us for the impact that we have on students and families, sometimes we have to lean on each other in a way that becomes like a family, but families can be dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much like science teachers.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I'm a science teacher.
Yeah.
But
of small children too. Yeah.
Of small children. I teach science elementary school.
There you go.
Most of my career. I'm going to say a couple unpopular things that could get me in trouble, because that's what I do.
Hold on, guys.
But one, I got into teaching because I love school. So I thought, oh, I love school, so I will love teaching. This is not a good correlation, people. Do not trust it. While I am good at teaching, and there are parts of teaching I love. I'm not one of those teachers who, I don't cry when my kids leave for the summer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a science teacher. I have told them in the past, I don't do it anymore, people. We don't cry in science. Like, so go get rid of your tears.
You cry in language arts. You come to me to cry.
Yeah. You go cry somewhere else, and then you come back to me, and let's do science, right?
Oh,
so, and this is something that I've said before, and I want everybody to like take it just for what it is. But I've said that it's bulbs in the pack, and I say this because I was a science major, obviously, for most of my undergraduate career, until I realized I have to pass calculus, and it wasn't going so well. So I switched to education, right? I was getting A's and B's in my science career. Then I get an education, dude. I got all A's. It was like the dumbest classes. And I know this is very different on the East Coast. I want to make that clear as well. East Coast teacher training is harder to get into. Teacher colleges are harder to get into. So it's a much higher caliber. But guys, and again, please don't be offended when I say this, because I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about all teachers. But really, a monkey can get a teaching degree. And it's the reason I first left the district is I said, like, literally a monkey could do my job. I can't do this anymore because I'm so bored. A monkey could do my job. A monkey, it's just so easy to get a teaching degree. So you're in it for the money.
Lord, no.
You can get it, but you can get a job anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard to get a teaching degree, right? You're not going to have to you don't have to pass any tests. Like, it's just not hard to get a teaching degree. So right. I think there is that. Oh, Mo says, did I pull a Tom Hanks line? Because I need to know it.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
I also came up with another thing while we were talking, but then I forgot it. It was like shirt worthy too. Like, we could have made a shirt out of it. Do you have anything, Aaron? I was going to go to questions on the.
Well, yeah, I was curious if you know what the graduation percentage is in your county, just off the top.
So I do. I'm telling my husband to take these children upstairs.
No worries.
Because you're
also, I know what it's going to be. I drink because I teach.
Yes.
Like, now that I teach, guys, I can't stop, because y'all know I wasn't drinking at home. But now I come home and I either lie in bed and want to die, or I drink. Like, those are the options. I drink because I teach.
This is the sales pitch.
I took a nap today, and I went to dinner. I told you I went to dinner with my friends before I came on here. And when I woke up from my nap, I was like, I'm pretty sure I woke up and I was like, I'm either like in a diabetic coma or I'm dead. Like, I don't really know what's happening to me right now, because like that nap was so hard.
This is legit.
Yeah, our graduation rate right now is about 80. Well, okay, so you got to back it on up and remember that we're in the COVID rule right now. So last year our graduation rate shot up because we passed everybody. The years before that we were somewhere in the 80-ish percentage range, and that's with 180,000 something students. I think we graduate. Well, we have right at 20 high schools that are somewhere in between about anywhere from 700 to 900 students per senior class. So I don't know what the math on that looks like per year of how many we would have graduate, but yeah, somewhere around in the 80%.
I'm impressed you know that stat.
You don't know what it is?
I have no idea.
In Clark?
No, Google it. Someone Google it.
I had to know that because of the in-house training that we did, and because we were part of the team that I was on at Mill Creek was a part of the graduation rate. So we knew our graduation rate, which was somewhere around, we fluctuated between 90 and 95%. But there were other schools. We were also, the school that I was at was a part of the district that, honest to goodness, was the lowest Title I. We had the highest income rates. We had the highest kind of the upper echelon. I mean, obviously there are going to be students who do not fit in that category, but there are other schools that were in the 70 to 80% range where we were somewhere in the 90%.
I would like to point out Christy is at a high school, and therefore graduation rates are important because they're probably based on their rating. Where I'm at an elementary school, so this is why I don't know.
Yeah.
Jacob got it.
In 2020, it was 83.2, so that's an interesting. It went down in 2020. It looks like.
Interesting. Yeah, it's 85.9% in 2019. That's pretty. I mean, for Clark County, I think that's a decent graduation rate. Also, I would like to point out the Tom Hanks line that Mo said I was quoting was when he said, "There's no crying in baseball," and I said. Yeah. So you mentioned scoffingly about football, the Friday night football, and Steven's kind of like, Steven asked questions just to be funny, but also some of them I think are valid discussion points. And Steven says, do administrators in your district over prioritize football?
Oh. Yeah. I would say, so I'm speaking from an assistant principal perspective, and it's there too, but from the administrator, like the principal perspective, absolutely. It's what brings in money. I mean, you can't deny the fact that you've got a sport that on any given average night is going to bring in thousands of dollars. And so, yeah, I mean, but it's also, you could fly that plane out and say that administrators do that. The county does that. The South does that. I mean, it is, and we talk about it around here like it's a religion, and it is. Like, it is just something that is so deep seated down here. And I am an Alabama fan. Sorry, I'm sure some of you are about to turn this off after I just said that. I was born and raised in Alabama, so that was my team. But yeah, absolutely, there's an prioritization on that here.
Do you see that some teachers and or students get special treatment because of that?
100%.
Jacob said, yeah.
100%. I think you could say that sports, period. So I think it does tend to lean more towards football. For sure. And then I think it goes, we are huge into talking about equity right now in our district, because we've had issues and because we've got some leadership changes that are putting that to the forefront now. But absolutely, like, it starts in male dominated sports such as football. Your next biggest popular group are the ones that are probably going to get the most, kind of skate buys. Would be basketball and baseball, and then it can kind of go into women's sports and stuff. And even just the difference between like the women's lacrosse team versus, the men's soccer team, like the facilities and stuff. I mean, it's, yeah, absolutely, that it's they get special privileges and things that are done because they play sports.
Interesting. I always thought that was just in the movies.
No. I think it goes back though to the conversation that we've had about when it comes to teaching and stuff, where teachers get burned out and teachers want to leave the profession and teachers don't feel supported because you've got a language arts teacher who's in this classroom and she is working her rear end. I've got one that just popped in my mind that I can think of. She's working 60 plus hours and is held to all of these standards and all of these things. And, just it's insane. And then a point is being used. And I mean, obviously that's language we know, but the point for that teacher, federal funding for that teacher, is being used so that the football coach can go down to the cafeteria and be a monitor, or whatever, because he has such an important job to run the football program. And it's a reality, and it's a hard reality. You want to talk about a way to buzz kill a teacher or to demoralize a teacher, that's it. I mean, and that's hard as administration when you're having to help support that teacher and there's things like that you just cannot help them with. Like, I think you kind of going back, Erin, to your question, like, there are things that I would love to be able to do to go to support that teacher. And that's just one thing that I'm not going to be able to fix for her, because that is the system. That is the way that it is set up. That is, like, there's nothing that little old me is going to be able to do to ever put her in a position where that's not her reality.
Has anything else with funding or money surprised you in being in administration?
Yeah, I think you talk about equity again of, there are just, like, for our school, for example, and now we're an odd bird, but we don't have money. Like, we just don't, because we don't have football. Like, we don't have sports. We don't have, we don't even have a PTO or a PTA. Like, that's just not something that our school, could we have it? Probably, if we put a little bit more priority on it. But because we're a special needs school, who, we just don't have those things. Would we love to be able to feed our teachers breakfast? Heck yeah. Like, I would love to be able to go to Chick-fil-A and get you, biscuits. I would love to be able to go to Papa Jack's and, do all these kind of things for you. I don't have the money, and I don't have ways to be able to get that funding in where another school might be able, to pull that out of their, rear end somewhere, because they've got these different organizations and different things and whatever. So the inequity of what certain principals are able to do for their staffs, what certain principals are able to do for their students, just it shocks me sometimes that we just don't have that ability. I think too, with funding, it's so hard. Like, again, going back to wanting to support the teachers, that is something that teachers don't get it. And I didn't. Teachers don't always understand how much money things cost. So to do a breakfast for I think we have 140 staff members. To do a Panera breakfast for them is right at somewhere in the upwards of like $900, $1,000. And you go and do that 4 or 5 times a year, and you've only got like an 800, or, not 800, you've only got like a $2,200 budget to be able to do those kind of things. And you can only do that 1 or 2 times a year, and you're done. Like, you've exceeded that. And do I want to do those things for you? I'm not going to have any money at this job because I keep spending my own money. I'm finding that I'm spending just as much money as an administrator as I did as a teacher in my classroom, because I'm buying journals, I'm buying gifts, I'm buying candy, I'm buying, donuts. I'm doing all of these things to want to try to support these teachers, because the money is just not there. And teachers just do not have a clue, I don't think. I mean, they might, I don't know. I didn't as a teacher, of just how much things cost to be able to do it on a large scale.
Does your district have like So like it's our big school district, which I haven't taught at in quite a while, but like there are allocated fund allotments. So like you have this money, but it can only be spent on like textbooks. So you have that too. Okay. Yeah. So charter schools are a little more, there's a little more leniency with how you can spend your money. But I think, yeah, teachers, one would be shocked at how much money things cost. And also, like like you said, how much money there isn't. My school right now, I just paid, guys. I just paid as a teacher. I gave the school $120 so that I could wear jeans every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Don't laugh. This is our life.
It is our life. Yes. Have you seen the meme where it says something like, you know, somebody goes and gets the bonus and they're like, oh, $2,500 bonus for getting 3 new clients. And the teacher's like, a free jeans pass for next Tuesday. Well, first I'd like to thank my mom and dad. And then I'd like to thank my teacher for believing in me when I was in the 4th grade. Cause I mean, that's it. Like,
yeah, you give us jean days and like, then we're good. Or you even let us, I paid money. And my boyfriend asked, okay, well, do you know where that money's going? I'm like,
don't care.
No, I have no clue. Like they could be putting stuff in the vending. I have no clue.
But I'm in my jeans, so it doesn't matter.
So, kind of a follow-up question to the previous thing about things that like the budget and things you can do, and a comparison back to something I'm familiar with, the corporate structure. Are there conversations among school administrations about talent retention and focusing on trying to retain good teachers as opposed to just having teachers?
Absolutely. And that is something like, especially for our school right now, the thing that I am trying to do and my main focus is the new teachers that we have. I'm trying to figure out like, how can I keep you? Obviously there's a couple of them that are going to burn, like they're, again, like we talked about, like there's a couple of them that have come in. I don't know that they're going to stay in this, especially in the school that I particularly am in the administration of, because we're a hard school. We're a behavior school. We're a special ed school. But I do think that there is a real focus right now on trying to retain those teachers, on trying to support them as much as we can, on trying to give them the tools that they need to be able to be good teachers quickly. Teaching is one of those really weird things to me that, like being a doctor, like they're not going to throw you into surgery and then not check on you, you know, like not at the end of the year, be like, okay, so did you master it or not? Are you ready to fly on your own next year?
Yeah.
And, you know, but in teaching, we do that. I think a lot of times we throw people to the wolves and then we go, okay, so we're going to check on you a couple of times and we'll give you a couple of links and some resources to help you. But next year, can you be on your own and can you be okay and great at it? And then can we come in and can you be exemplary and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think there is a big push right now to try to keep those talented teachers and to build them up and to support them. Or at least that's what we're trying to do, because we're wanting our students to have the best.
I think there won't be solutions, because obviously there's a teacher shortage nationwide as teachers have a mass exodus. I think it's really hard to solve on a school level, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can do a lot of things. You can increase morale. You can think about those 2 minutes I talked about, administration out there. Yeah. Think about those minutes. But it really needs to be big scale. The teaching profession needs to be looked at differently, or good teachers will realize this is killing me. Yep. And I don't care if I have summers off, because at least I can live for 9 months, right? Like you can live 12 months or live for 3 months. Yeah. And that it's going to have to be systemic. Unfortunately, but like I always say, look out for my next TED Talk. Kids first doesn't work. Kids first doesn't work. It is going to have to be put the teacher mask on. We're going to have to take care of our teachers so our teachers can take care of our kids.
100%. And I think for someone like me, I just happened to go into administration and the right job happened to come along. Because obviously I'm in a school that people are not knocking down the door to be an AP of a special education school. Like, you're just not. But that's been my passion. And for me, that was the next place for me to be able to take that passion for special ed students and to apply it. And so I got my reward of being able to be patient and wait for the right place to come along. And I'm blessed because of that. Roll all that back. This time last year, I was interviewing for a job that was going to be like a $30,000 pay cut. And let's think about how much I don't make to begin with in real estate, because I was done. And because I found, like, it just so happened that I stayed patient, found my place, this opened up, the skies aligned, whatever. But for me, for, a 14-year veteran, and I'm kind of like you, like, I know I'm a good teacher. Like, I'm not prideful, but I know that I am good at what I do. And my evaluations reflected that. I think my parents' trust and, the kids I was a case manager for, they would tell you, like, I was so burned out and so over it, that had I not chosen this, or this kind of presented itself, I could 100% be at Wendy's right now and be just as happy.
Yeah. Happy. Yeah. Agreed. Just because I feel like I haven't made myself look quite terrible enough on this episode. I went into administration because I got divorced. This is working on many years here. I'm probably not going to have a partner that I'm going to be able to retire with. Like, I can't retire on a teacher's salary. Like, I can't. So that's why I never wanted to be an administrator, because I knew what they had to do and the political game they had to play. And shockingly enough, I'm not good at the political game. But I knew I couldn't survive in my retirement years if I didn't make more money. So there it is.
You're too rebellious. So there's a conversation going on that I kind of wanted to change a little bit here, from an administration perspective. So I think we've had the conversation a couple of times about, from a teacher's perspective, like what parents can do to help. From an administration perspective, is there anything that parents can do from their side to help support the schools, not necessarily the teachers themselves, but to support the schools and all that?
Don't be an a-hole at pickup.
No. I think there is. I think for parents, especially that are in positions where they can leverage some of their places, then absolutely. Like, I wish you cannot tell me that I don't have parents right now of my students that couldn't do a fundraiser, a golf tournament. Like, I know I've got some parents who play golf. I know I've got some parents who are in corporations who could figure some things out for me. Like, you cannot tell me I don't have some parents who could leverage their positions to help us a little bit more. Like,
or donate things.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say that. I would also say then, from the other perspective of that, when it comes just to, like, your students, and hear me out when I say this, I'm the world's worst parent. Like, I'm the worst parent teacher. I think teachers
are the worst parents.
We're the worst, because we're so caught up in our own places and I'm like, oh my God, why do you need a freaking water bottle? Like, just go to a river or something. I don't know. I don't know how to help you right now, you little third graders. But I do think that staying in communication, good communication, and realizing, and this is just one of those catchphrases that I almost hate to throw out there because it sounds like I've drank the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, but going at it with the best intent, like believing that there is good intent. Like, I really honestly 100% do not believe that I have a teacher on my staff right now who has ill intent to be a bad teacher. I think there are just teachers who don't know how to teach. Same thing with parents. You can't just assume that every decision that we make is ill in it's not
against your kid.
Yes, like that there's ill intentions behind it. And one of the things that I try to remind myself, even as a teacher and now especially in this role, there is a ground view that students have. There's a little bit higher of a view that teachers have. There's a little bit higher of a view that I have. And then my principal has the aerial view. And she's the one that sees the big picture and how all the pieces have to fit. And just because this decision over here was made and it goes against what you may need or want right now, doesn't mean that it wasn't the best decision for the good of everybody. And so you have to come at it as parents. Like I try to now, just a couple of weeks ago, we had an open house at my kid's school, and that poor principal was sitting there. He can't do nothing about that traffic outside. Like he just can't. He can't help that our DOT picked the absolute worst time of the year to start a major 4-lane change traffic pattern. There may have been ill intent there. I don't know, but I don't think that they meant to, screw everything up. But parents were just blasting him because their life had been interrupted. He can't do anything. And he doesn't have ill intent when he makes a decision or something doesn't go his way. So just assume
give grace. Give grace first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I always said parents will come to me and be like, the teacher's picking on my kid and just calling my kid out. I'm like, there is no teacher in the world that wakes up in the morning and is like, you know what I'm going to do today? Call Johnny out, because I'm gonna make Johnny's day really, really bad. Now Johnny doesn't ever do anything wrong. He's an angel, but I'm gonna call him out today. There is no teacher in the world that does that. We don't want to make our lives harder. I don't want to call Johnny out. I call Johnny out because he's being an a-hole, okay?
No, and that's trying to get there by 7:35 so that they don't get called out trying to go down.
Yeah.
Trying to wake up with your child in their mind. They're just trying to make
survive.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I think we covered all the questions except for that. Yes, Jacob, I think paying teachers more money would change things, because with money in this day and age brings respect. And if you look at the pay rate versus the cost of teachers versus the cost of living rate, at least in the Las Vegas and Nevada area, I don't know about other areas, you'll notice it's way behind the times, the teacher rate of pay increase. And I don't know how new teachers even survive unless they're married. Like you basically, like right now, I barely survive on a teacher's salary. And this is my 19th year in education for retirement purposes anyway. Yeah. So yeah, Steven says $15 minimum wage. Yeah. And more teachers will leave. If I could go somewhere and get paid $15 an hour, why do I have 3 degrees working for like just a little bit more than that?
Yeah.
I also think it comes to that when you pay teachers more, and I say this all the freaking time right now with my teachers, talking about taking things off your plate and giving people room to breathe. When you do that, when you give them more planning time, you give them room to breathe. And when a teacher can breathe and they don't feel suffocated, then they're going to work in ways that you're going to get better results out of them. It goes back to the paying part. When you can pay a teacher a livable wage, when you can pay them, just even a little bit more at this point, then you've given that teacher room to breathe. And now maybe that teacher doesn't have to have a second job.
I was going to say,
maybe they don't have to have a teacher pay teacher store. Maybe they don't have to have a side hustle or an MLM or all of those other things that I feel like a lot of teachers have to survive. And so then you're taking away, time for them to think and time for them to rest and time for them to do their one job excellent. They're having to do 2 or 3 jobs okay. So why would you not want to pay them more and put them in a position to where they can be their best? And instead, I think it's become, and this is a different episode, different topic, but it's become so political, teaching has, that where in God's green earth did we decide that those kind of things get to be political issues? How much our teachers get paid a livable wage? Like, you're literally, the collapse of this system happens when these teachers walk out the door, and we're about to face that. And so many things are about to become so broken because teachers are going to walk, but they're going to walk because the government has decided that we don't deserve more pay than what we're doing. And I think that's where a lot of animosity gets built between teachers and administration, because the administration pay scale does tend to be a little bit, well, a lot more wider than a teacher pay. And you're right, like teachers, when just a couple of days ago, I made the comment that I'm tired, but I'm not the teacher tired that I ever was. It is completely and totally different. I can pee when I want to pee. I can drink water when I want to drink water. I can close my door and watch a TikTok if I need to, just to get my brain back into the right.
Yes.
Like, I have so many more freedoms as an admin, yet I'm getting paid more. And I think you've got a lot of that animosity that then comes because we're not putting teachers on that same level and on that same pay scale.
Yeah, I even told the kids, I told my students, I was like, you know what? The best thing about being an administrator is you can pee whenever you want. Like, that's it. The end. Period. Period. Stop. You can pee. You can pee. And preach it with the second jobs. I bet you if you know a teacher, they have a side gig.
Yep.
If you know a teacher, I would bet money they have a side gig, because it's a super high percentage. I don't know stats or whatever, but super high percentage of teachers.
Yeah, I read an article, and it was a politician in Arizona criticizing the idea of increasing teacher pay because they had found out that teachers actually had access, like they had their own boats, and they had second homes, and they had all these things because they all had to work second jobs, and those second jobs paid better than their primary job did.
Right.
That's, well, first of all, that's
completely
insane.
tone deaf.
Yeah, those people do not have those things from their teacher pay.
No.
They marry rich. That's what you need to do. If you want to be a teacher, kids, this is what I'm telling you. If you want to be a teacher when you grow up, you're going to have to marry rich. And this is not a male-female thing. There are male teachers, and they get paid crap too. So they're going to have to also marry rich. You're going to have to find a sugar mama.
I'll work on marrying rich first. I'll be a teacher second.
Okay.
How broken is it, though, that we're looking at teachers and going, you can't have nice things because you're a teacher? Like, what the flying flip? Like, that's
Arizona's
ridiculous.
a weird place.
Yeah.
Well, that's too. But that's where we live today. There we have it, people. Don't be hating on administrating, because it's not always our fault. That's something we didn't talk about that I'm going to mention in the next 2.7 seconds. A lot of things that we have to do as administrators comes from up above. Like, I don't want to make you fill out this paper. I don't want to make you have to give this test. I don't want to make you have to restructure everything. But they're telling me we have to. And I, like you said, I'll do as much of it myself as I can, but I can't do it all because some of it has to do with just you. So I don't want to do all this, but because the powers that be that are nincompoops are making us. So
yeah, you never see everything.
Yeah.
And you have to approach situations understanding that you never see everything.
Yes.
So give grace.
I think it goes back to that point of what keeps me in the position that I'm in. Because I can rail against a lot of things, and I cannot do a lot of the things that the top down tells me that I have to do. But when I do those things, I'm not going to have a job anymore. Yeah. And then when I don't have a job anymore, the next person who comes into this position may not be someone who wants to take things off your plate, and may not want to be somebody who wants to support you the way that I want to support you. So part of my job is going to have to be doing some of that stuff that comes down from the top, and I'm going to have to do it with fidelity, because if I don't, then I'm not going to be in this position and be able to impact you the way that I want to be able to impact you. So sometimes you just kind of have to suck it up, buttercup. And
there you go. There's another shirt. Suck it up, buttercup. But also don't cry in science.
There is no crying in science.
Is no crying in science. Gotta say it right. Yeah, there we go. Well, thank you, Christy, so much for being on. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you taking your time because I know you're tired. Been there, done that. So really, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you all so much for having this discussion.
Of course. So what are we doing? Do we have a plan for next week? Or are we still in August next week?
No, next week is September, guys. And I have no plan. I'm teaching now, guys. So really it's hard, okay? We have a couple possible things on the books that I'll wet your whistles with. We got some possible a teacher who's been teaching like 8 bazillion years who might talk to us about the changes he's seen in education. I've reached out to some nudists, and Aaron's got me on the furry train. So we might talk to a furry and bronies. Yeah, guys, Google bronies and just realize this is the world we live in.
Everybody else here knows what that is.
Oh, do they? Oh, I had no idea. Christy, do you know what bronies are?
I'm going to pretend like I do.
No, they are men who like My Little Ponies.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's
so much they have a name for themselves, bronies.
Well, whatever floats your boat.
Ooh, Juggalos is a good idea.
Is the thing. I don't know what Juggalos is, but I will look into it.
Yeah, we'll cover that afterwards.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for joining us. So we'll be back next week for who knows what exactly at the moment. We'll be sure to update you on all the socials. So definitely click the like, share, subscribe. Get more people involved in the conversation so that we can make a bigger impact. And I guess we'll figure out what's going on, and we'll see y'all next week. And until then,